Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Regarding the Holy Quran, the misconception I'd like to discuss today relates to the theme of the Quran. Now, it is often alleged that the Quran has a number of themes and a number of subjects, and people would say that, for example, the subject or theme of the Holy Quran is man himself. Other people would say that it is the hereafter. Still others would say that everything found in the domain of knowledge, everything that which man has been given in the form of knowledge is found in the Quran. So people keep coming up with various theories regarding the subject matter or the theme of the Quran, and it's difficult at times to really gauge the fact that what exactly is the theme of the Quran. So first of all, it needs to be understood that one has to make a distinction between the word theme and between the word subject. People often confuse these with each other and end up relating them synonymously to each other. Of course, they can be used synonymously, but when there has to be a distinction, when there has to be a technical discussion, we must understand the fact that subject or subject matter is something very different, and theme is an entirely different thing. When we say that the subject of a particular thing is such and such, we actually refer to the contents of that thing. And when we say that the theme of a particular discourse is such and such, then what we mean is that the object or the purpose of these contents is such and such. So theme primarily is the object of the contents of a certain discourse. And we must not confuse these two. So as far as the subject of the Quran is concerned, as far as the various subjects which are found in the Quran are concerned, there are numerous. For example, we know that the Sharia is one of the subjects of the Quran. Similarly, history is another subject of the Quran. Similarly, we find morality and ethics and the essentials of faith being discussed. Similarly, we find being reminded of our innate guidance being discussed in the Quran. So there are a number of things which form the subject of the Quran. However, as far as the theme of the Quran is concerned, which is now the topic of our discussion, that is only one, and that is the purpose, that is the objective of this subject matter. And that has been actually mentioned at one place very clearly in the Quran. I'll read out that verse to you. It is in Surah An'am. It says, وَأُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ هَذَا الْقُرْآنُ لِأُنذِرَكُمْ بِهِ وَمَنْ بَلَغَ. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is actually the speaker of these words. These words are ascribed to him. And he says that the words are, and this Quran has been revealed to me so that I may warn you through it and all whom it may reach. So primarily it is the prophetic warning which is the theme of the Quran. So as far as the subjects are concerned, as I said, there could be numerous subjects, there are many subjects, but all these subjects relate to a common objective, and that is the theme of the Quran. And as per this verse, it is the prophetic warning, the warning delivered by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to his immediate addressees. And of course, as these words say, that وَمَنْ بَلَغَ, that through this Quran, this warning will reach people of later generations as well. So primarily the theme of the Quran is this prophetic warning, which is of course, which relates to the fact that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ warned people of the hereafter. He told them that if they will deny him, if they will deny the truth, then this warning which he is giving them is going to materialize in this world. And this is something which needs to be understood very clearly, that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and all previous messengers like him, they warned their respective immediate addressees and told them that if they fail, if they, in spite of being convinced of the truth, they do not pay heed to the truth, then they shall be destroyed in this world or humiliated in this world, because this is what's going to happen for people who do not accept the truth in spite of being convinced of it. So the whole Quran primarily mentions this prophetic warning to people and tells them that if they do not accept faith, if they reject the Prophet Muhammad deliberately, intentionally, in spite of being convinced of his veracity, then this warning is going to materialize, and this materialization will be in the form of worldly punishment of people who reject this truth. So this is the whole content of the Quran. This is the whole theme of the Quran, and this theme has been arranged is found in the Quran in the various chapters of the Quran. Of course, we know that the Quran consists of 7 groups, and in each of these groups, we find the Meccan surahs preceding the Medinan surahs, and the theme proceeding in such a way that the various phases of the prophetic mission are made evident in those, so that each of those groups contains some part of that theme, some aspect of that theme, so that it could be instrumental in delivering the truth. So we have to realize that primarily this is the the tale or the anecdote of the prophetic warning, which the Quran, which can be called the theme of the Quran. Now, of course, if the theme of the Quran is the prophetic warning, and if it tells us that the people who have been destroyed, people who were his immediate addressees, they were destroyed, and so therefore people must take heed to what the Prophet is going to say, then of course the question can arise that what is the relevance of this theme to us? For example, if it's more of a historical anecdote of the Prophet, in which he delivered his warnings in Arabia, and then he claimed, and of course this claim was true, it came true, that people who did not profess belief. In his case, of course, this was not the case, but in the case of many messengers of God, their addressees who did not accept him, who did not profess faith in them, they were destroyed. So what is the relevance of this whole to us, to people of today, when this is primarily a historical narration of events? Now, this needs to be clearly understood, that it has a very, very profound influence and a profound message for all of us, and that is that this prophetic warning, or this warning of the Rasuls or the messengers of God, which materialized in their own era, such that their nations were destroyed if they intentionally denied the truth, this warning, since it materialized in the form of worldly reward and punishment, so it was meant actually primarily to remind all of us who came later of the fact that this worldly reward and punishment, which took place in the times of the messengers of God, and which is actually a specific law of the Almighty, which only concerns the messengers of God, this shows that reward and punishment is a truth, is a reality, because it took place in this world vis-a-vis the immediate addressees of the messengers of God. So this has a message for all of us, and that message is that we must be prepared to face the Almighty in the hereafter, because this worldly punishment actually shows, since this worldly punishment primarily took place in the form of a collectivity, in the form of the collectivity of that nation, it tells us that the Almighty takes account of nations in this world. So therefore we must get ready that one day we too shall be called to account individually in our own capacities, and for that the day of judgment is bound to come. So primarily these lesser days of judgment which took place in the times of the messengers of God, which actually are a tale of that prophetic warning of that, or the warning of that messenger, they are meant to tell us that we are going to face the Almighty one at one time, and we must be prepared to meet him. Similarly, as far as the content of this warning is concerned, of course, there are a number of things which relate to us. This first thing is specific to the messengers of God. The worldly punishment is specific to the immediate addressees of God. It does not take place after them. However, as far as the contents are concerned, of course, there are a number of things which relate to us. During the course of this prophetic warning, the Prophet Muhammad gave us the precepts of Sharia. He gave us the precepts of morals and morality. Similarly, he also gave us the precepts of faith. So these things have been mentioned in the Quran, and all of them contain guidance to us, for us. So we have to realize and make a concerted effort to understand the fact that there is a difference between what we call as theme, and there is a difference between what we call a subject or content. So subject relates to the content, and there are numerous contents of the Quran. However, as far as the theme of the Quran is concerned, as I just read out this verse to you, it is just one, and that is the warning which was delivered by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in his own times as a messenger of God, and which culminated in the worldly reward and punishment of his addressees, is what is primarily which is the theme of the Quran. And for this, a number of things have been used for arguments in order to establish this theme. So it is essential to realize that the theme of the Quran is the prophetic warning, or the saga of the prophetic warning, or the anecdote of the prophetic warning. And of course, when I say prophetic warning, I refer to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And during the course of this warning, of course, the history of other messengers of God have also been narrated to tell the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and to tell us that, like the Prophet Muhammad, previous messengers of God too, of course, went through these same phases of warning. And in the Quranic term, this warning is called inzar. The word inzar means to warn someone, to make him aware, to admonish him of certain facts. So primarily, this is what the theme of the Quran is. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات.